Yes, welcome back. We were discussing the decomposition part and we will continue with it. The important step in the process of decomposition are fragmentation, leaching, catabolism, humidification, and mineralization. The detrivorous, that is the earthworm, break down detritus into smaller particles, and this process is called fragmentation. By the process of leaching, the water soluble inorganic nutrients go down to the soil horizon and get precipitated as unavailable salt. The bacterial and fungal enzyme degrade detritus into simpler inorganic substance, and this process is called catabolism. It is important to note that all the above steps in decomposition operate simultaneously in detritus. Humidification and mineralization occur during decomposition in the soil. Humidification leads to accumulation of dark colored amorphous substance called humus that is highly resistant to microbial action and undergo decomposition at an extremely slow rate. Being colloidal in nature, it serves as a reservoir of nutrients. The humus is further degraded as some microbes and release of inorganic nutrient occur by the process is known as mineralization. The decomposition is largely an oxygen requiring process, and the rate of decomposition is controlled by chemical composition of detritus and climatic factors. In a particular climatic condition, decomposition rate is lower if detritus is rich in lignin and chitin, and quicker if detritus is rich in nitrogen and water soluble substance like sugar. Temperature and soil moisture are the most important climatic factor that regulate the decomposition through their effect on the activities of soil microbes. Warm and moist environment favor decomposition, whereas low temperature and anaerobiosis inhibit decomposition, resulting in build-up of organic material. 14.4 The energy flow. Except for the deep sea hydrothermal ecosystem, sun is the only source of energy. Sun. Of the incident of sun radiation, less than 50% of the photosynthetically active radiation, that is PAR. We know that plant and photosynthetic bacteria fix sun's radiant energy to make food from simple inorganic material. Plant capture 2 to 10% of PAR, and the small amount of energy sustain the entire living world. So, it is very important to know how the solar energy captured by plant flows through different organisms of an ecosystem. All organisms are dependent for their food on producers, either directly or indirectly. So, you find unidirectional flow of energy from the sun to producers and then to consumers. Further, ecosystems are not except from the second law of thermodynamics. They need a constant supply of energy to synthesize the molecule they require to counteract the universal tendency towards increasing disorderliness. The green plant in the ecosystem are producers. In a terrestrial ecosystem, major producers are herbivorous and woody plants. Likewise, Producers in an aquatic ecosystem are various species like phytoplankton, algae, and higher plants. You have read about the food chain and web that exists in the environment, starting from the plant's food chain or rather webs are formed such an animal feeds on a plant or an animal or another animal and in turn is food for another. The chain of web is formed because of the interdependency. No energy that is trapped into an organism remain it forever. The energy trapped by the producer hence is either passed on to the consumer or the organism dies. The death of organism is beginning of a detritus food chain or a web. All animals depend on plant for their food needs and they are hence called consumers and also heterotrophs. If they feed on the producers, the plants, they are called primary consumers, and if the animals eat other animals which in turn eat the plants, they are called secondary consumers. Likewise, you could have tertiary consumers too. The primary consumers will be herbivorous. Some common herbivores are insects, birds, mammals in terrestrial ecosystem and mollusks in aquatic ecosystem. The producers that feeds on these herbivores are carnivores or more correctly primary carnivores. Those animals that depend on primary carnivores for food are labeled as secondary carnivores. A simple grazing food chain, that is GFC, is depicted below. That is the grass to goat, and the goat is eaten by the man. As I said, producers, primary consumers, and then secondary consumers. The detritus food chain begins with the dead organic matter. It is made up of decomposers, which are heterotrophic organisms, mainly fungi and bacteria. They met their energy and nutrient requirements by degrading dead organic matter or detritus, and these are known as saprophytes. Sapro means to decompose. Decomposers secretly digest enzyme and break down dead and waste materials into simple inorganic material which are subsequently absorbed by them. In an aquatic ecosystem, GFC is the major conductor of energy flow. As against this, in a terrestrial ecosystem, a much larger fraction of energy flow through the detritus food chain than through GFC. Detritus food chain may be connected with a grazing food chain at some levels. Some of the organisms of DFC are prey to the GFC animal. And in a natural ecosystem, some animals like cockroaches, crows, etc. are omnivorous, and these natural interconnection of food chain make it a food web. So organisms occupy a place in an animal surrounding or in a community according to their feeding relationship with the organism. Based on the source of the nutrient of food, organisms occupy a place in food chain, and that is known as their trophic level. Producers belong to the first trophic level and the herbivorous to the second and carnivorous to the third. The important point to note is that the amount of energy decreases at successive trophic level. When an organism dies, it is converted to detritus or dead biomass that serve as an energy source for decomposers. Thank you and have a nice day.